Everybody, it's Mike from Electric City Sentai DenziCaster, and this week on the DenziBlitz, we're taking a look at part 4 of our Power Rangers Dino Charge series. Now, which size battery did I need again? Folks, it is time for us to take a look at part 4 of our 5-part look at Power Rangers Dino Charge here on the DenziBlitz. Now, for those of you playing along at home, if you have the single DVD releases, that means we're on volume 4. We're looking at 5 episodes this week, which will get us from episode, let me do a little basic math here real quick, 13, 14, 15, 16, 13 through 17. That's what we're looking at today. Part of that includes me giving one really big compliment to Lionsgate, actually, but we will get there at the end, so to speak. So, the episodes we're looking at today are Sink or Swim, True Black, Rise of a Ranger, No Matter How You Slice It, and The Ghostest with the Mostest. So, no one ever gave him credit for having great episode titles. So, looking at these 5 episodes, things really dug, things really didn't like, and sort of basic synopses here. Sink or Swim it really is about getting everyone to work together, and getting, in this case, Chase to get in sync with himself. They wind up with a new Dino Charger, which we get a few of those throughout, and this one's the Dino Armor X, which fans of Kyryuger will remember was the sort of chompy, 2-armed armor that, for whatever reason, only Kiryu Black used. At least here they give an excuse for that, which is the armor can only be powered by black dino energy. It has to be the black energem. So there's that. But essentially, the power winds up being affected by its user. If the wielder isn't of the right state of mind, if they don't feel right with themselves or whatnot, then it throws the whole thing off. We get a little bit of training montage at the beginning. The Monster of the Week basically uses these big stone tablets that are impenetrable except to the Dino Armor X. So, all in all, not a bad episode, not a great episode. It probably one that should be watched if for no other reason than it introduces a new power. But if Kyryuger is an indication of what we end up seeing through the rest of Dino Charge, and so far it looks like it probably is, yeah, that means there's probably going to be a new power in every episode. True Black is, again, a little bit towards our Black Ranger Chase. In this case, it is about him, and if I recall correctly here, True Black believe is him and maybe some sort of a spell. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember True Black that much because there wasn't a whole lot to the episode that stood out to me. So let that be an indication. I don't have my cheat sheet here with me. I don't have my computer in front of me. So let that kind of be an indication. If I don't remember the episode that well, then it obviously didn't stand out to me. So we will call that one filler and move on. Rise of a Ranger is the next episode. Now this one I really dug. This is the introduction of the Graphite Ranger. If you were a fan of Kyryuger, that would have been Kiryu Gray. But I really enjoyed this because, again, it's this show remembering yesterday, so to speak. We wind up with the Prince of Xandar. Prince Philip makes his return in this episode. And it's all about him wanting to be a ranger. After the events of Royal Rangers and Breakout and Night After Nights, where Ivan, our Middle Ages Xandarian knight, becomes the Gold Ranger and has the Gold Energem, Prince Philip wants to follow suit. He wants to become a ranger. And he wants to do this through whatever means. And it's explained to him that the Dino Gems, not Dino Gems, Energems, Dino Gems, different series, will only work with the people they choose, basically. They have to choose you. They have to deem you worthy. No wonder I said Dino Gems. And he basically tries to prove his worthiness through means that he would understand. He's a prince. He's lived a very privileged life. And so it is, for all intent and purpose, it's a focus episode on Prince Philip. Basically trying to use money and riches and wealth to prove he's worthy, donating to charity, building playgrounds and such. Ultimately, it all boils down to a selfless act. In the face of danger, he winds up saving a little girl related to Chase, but he winds up saving her, and that's when the Inner Gem chooses him. At great risk to himself, he would put his own life on the line in order to save and protect someone else, a young innocent. And then he becomes the Graphite Ranger. One of the things I really did dig about that episode is that Prince Philip left at the end of the episode. I know that sounds strange, but he has a life to lead. He is the Prince of Xandar. He's part of a royal family. And so he does leave. He leaves his Zord in the capable hands of the Dino Charge Rangers and swears that should you ever need the Graphite Ranger again, simply call. We wind up with next episode being No Matter How You Slice It. This episode is actually a takeoff on one of my favorite Kyryuger episodes and has one of my favorite monsters from that series. Monster of the Week basically uses a pair of scissors to cut the ties that bind people together in friendship. He can see those bonds, that it's a physical energy field between people, and he has scissors that can actually break that bond and turn even the closest of friends into bitter enemies. Ultimately, in the episode, he is successful in severing the bonds between most of the Rangers, all but Dino Charge Green, Riley, and Coda, our Blue Ranger. Coda's bond of friendship is so strong that his bonds of friendship break the scissors. Using a little bit of disguise, realizing the monsters are probably smart enough not to try that again, a little bit of misdirection, the Green and Blue Rangers basically trade places and are in disguise as one another so that the monster will try to use his powers on Riley, not realizing it's Coda in disguise, breaks the scissors again, and the Rangers are able to save the day and kind of get everything back together in one piece, bring the team back together. And then episode, in this case, we're up to 17, The Ghostest with the Mostest, is basically the Halloween special for this season. It's also the recap episode. Every season has one, and this one is ours. I did not, frankly, remember the monster from this episode until almost the very end of the episode, to be perfectly honest. But we have two monsters of the week. One of them is our clone monster from earlier on in the season, the episode Double Ranger, Double Danger. It's that monster basically brought back in order to clone a monster that preys on memory and emotion. So the idea is for this monster to take on the memories of another ranger and the experiences, and then to be cloned into that ranger by Duplicon, I believe is the name of the monster that handles that part of the business. So fairly cool plot, handled really well. We'll talk about that in a second with the way they handle it. But it's basically, the monster is essentially a framing motif for us to have the Rangers retell their stories up to this point and to kind of give us some insight into some of the major events without it being simply a trumped up flashback. It's just, in this case, it's, well, what did we do here and what did we do there? And it's almost like a cross-examination. I'm going to ask you questions only the Rangers could possibly know, and only the Rangers would know of their adventures if they were there firsthand. So, makes sense. which is not something you can often say about Power Rangers. There's one part of this episode that falls flat on its face, though, and I'll get there too. So, overall, number one, I always talk about what is or isn't essential to the season and to the story overall. Realistically, out of this batch, probably the only two essential episodes on this disc are probably Sink or Swim and Rise of a Ranger. And if you don't care about seeing every single power every time one debuts, you could probably do without Sink or Swim. The one that's the honest to goodness, I think, truly essential episode here is Rise of a Ranger, because it's the debut of the Graphite Ranger. And it's probably the best episode on the disc. Things that I enjoyed about these episodes overall, I enjoy the way that the Rangers are shown to, well, for one, actually have to earn power-ups, so to speak. There really hasn't been anything that's been handed to them on a silver platter outside of the Dino Drive mode, which has become a tradition with the Saban Brands era Power Rangers, that the Rangers have some special form just for piloting their Zords. And they continue that here. So that aside, they've really had to actually either invent or build or whatever all their powers. So I rather enjoy that. That sometimes comes with a price. In this particular case, it's also they have to use some of the Judenshi, as they were called in Kyoryuger, the beast batteries, to use some of the more ridiculous powers from Kyoryuger. We've seen what is essentially the fart charger in a previous episode. They show it to us again in one of the recaps here, one of the flashbacks in our Halloween episode. We also get the Cupid charger in this one. So we're seeing some of the ridiculousness, not all of them, thank goodness, because a lot of the stuff in Kyoryuger was very over the top and really would not fit the tone of this show well at all. They continue to actually try to explain things, which is, frankly, a leap for Power Rangers. Power Rangers RPM, the last of the Disney seasons, actually did a really good job of creating the world, the rules of the world, and explaining how all these powers came to be. And Dino Charge is in many ways following in those footsteps. Now, it's not a great big surprise to me because Chip Lynn had a considerable creative hand in both seasons. He didn't set the plate for RPM, but he certainly did come in and sort of bat cleanup when required. And of course, he's here as well. The Ghostest with the Mostest, I really enjoyed the framing story and it actually making sense to have essentially an interrogation be the way that we, not only this is how we're going to find out who the fake is, but this is also how we're going to discover, we're going to learn about what has happened previously. I also enjoyed in The Ghosters with the Mostest, our Halloween episode, I really enjoyed the fact that they don't tell you who the imposter is. We see the cloning. We actually see a Ranger get captured. We see them get cloned. At the beginning of the episode, the Rangers are in Halloween costumes, but they're basically, the typical sheet over the person ghost costume, and they're all in the exact same identical costume, all 6 of them. Which at first seems just kind of goofy until you realize this is how they're going to hide the identity of which Ranger actually got captured. And they do a really good job of that, revealing it only at the very end, only when it's necessary. And they give you clues in the episode as to which one it really is. And they even throw in the red herring. So it's actually fairly advanced storytelling for something like Power Rangers, which, as I've said time and again, it's a kid's show, folks. This is a toy commercial in DVD form. It's, if you watch it on Nick, it's a 25-minute toy commercial once a week. So even then, though, it's still fairly good. And I will be perfectly honest, like any good whodunit, they tell you how they figured it out at the end. And I'm not actually going to spoil that. I'm going to let you guys watch the episode for yourselves if you haven't. But even the clue that was given, I didn't pick up on. But when they said it, it made sense. I appreciate that out of a sort of a little mystery kind of thing. And the red herring actually worked too and does something to further a subplot in the series. So, hey, not bad. Things I didn't like. Some of the monsters in Kyryuger are very over-the-top ridiculous. Much like Kyryuger itself was. That whole series was very over-the-top, very colorful, borderline ridiculous show. It was very entertaining, but it skewed more towards the ridiculous than the real world in the terms of a superhero show. Here, Dino Charge is doing a very good job of trying to ground the show in the reality of its own world, but there are times it really doesn't overcome the source material. Some of the monster costumes and some of the monster concepts are just really, really, really obviously from somewhere else. Here, that kind of got shown a little bit, especially with the recap episode when they show like the Megazord fart charger and the clone monster that basically uses a grill to clone people and things like that. And so some of it's just very, very over the top, even for Power Rangers. So that was is a tad bothersome. It doesn't really bounce me out of the show, but it does remind me as I'm watching, oh yeah, this was that other show. And the best of Power Rangers seasons, to me, don't do that. The best of Power Rangers seasons will kind of seamlessly work everything together so that if you've seen the Super Sentai equivalent and you see the Power Rangers equivalent, unless they're shooting for an adaptation, which has happened and been done successfully, you don't really catch yourself sitting there as much and going, that's so much a Kyryuger monster, not a Dino Charge monster, that sort of thing. And a flaw in the logic of the series, and it really is just kind of looking too close and seeing the zipper moments. In our Halloween special, Miss Morgan Kendall has built essentially a lie detector that can detect if someone is telling the truth or whatnot, a highly advanced piece of machinery, which, come to find out, is not infallible. But before you know that, seems to me the easiest way to figure out if you have a lie detector, which one's the monster, is having them hooked up to the lie detector and simply saying, so are you a monster? And that would have pretty much resulted in approximately a 10-minute episode. So you know why they didn't do it, but there is that kind of part of me that goes, that could have been handled a lot easier if you're in the world. All in all, this disc, out of the 4 now that I've watched and that we've seen here on the show, this is probably my least favorite installment thus far. Not to say I wasn't entertained, I was. Not to say I didn't enjoy it, I did. Of the essentials, where previous discs, it was almost a case of you need to watch every episode. Not so much here. Realistically, if the only episode you watch here is Rise of a Ranger, you'd get away with it. You're really not going to miss much past that. Unless you do just really want to see the debut of the Dino Armor X. The whole episode is built around that. So I would say it's essential, but I don't think you would have to 100% watch it. If you don't watch it, you're not going to miss out on the overarching story of the series. But I do think just for what it brings to the table, you probably should check it out. So next time around, folks, we're going to be on Volume 5. It's the last part of our look at Power Rangers Dino Charge. This is the show that you guys picked for me to watch. Now, when we're done with this, when we're done with Dino Charge, that means we will move on to Dino Super Charge, and we'll do that in four installments, in keeping with the DVD set. So be sure to also stick around for that. We're just numbering the episodes to go along with the branding of the seasons. So season 2, so to speak. But like I said, we got 1 volume left here, and that's going to be Volume 5, if you have the individual DVDs. It is world famous in New Zealand. Deep Down Under, Wishing for a Hero, One More Inner Gem, and Race to Rescue Christmas. Those are going to be the last 5 episodes we look at here for Dino Charge. We'll check those out next week. The one other thing I wanted to mention here, and I said good on Lionsgate for it, and I wanted to bring it up, the Halloween and Christmas episodes and specials are actually part of the season box. They didn't always do that. Megaforce didn't. Don't think any of Samurai did. They all had Halloween and Christmas specials, but you almost invariably had to buy them separate. For instance, I don't have them because of that very reason. But here they included it in the season, and it was actually part of the original DVD season releases as the individual DVDs came out. And it was very smart because spending ever how much money for a single episode with a couple of bonus features, I think really I wouldn't want to do it, and I don't know how many people would. I'm sure some people did. They wouldn't have done it for 3 years if they hadn't, but still, I think this is a much better arrangement. Even Doctor Who does that. You know, you look at the BBC, you buy the full season box set, you get the Christmas special. So even though they sell it separately too, but still, you get the idea. So very good in that here for Lionsgate on this one. So folks, next time we got 5 episodes to go of Dino Charge, and then we move on to Super Charge. Here on the DenziBlitz. If you'd like to help support us here at the ECS Network, we'd greatly appreciate it. You can become one of our patrons at patreon.com/ECS Network. Or you can go to cafepress.com/ECS Network, pick yourself up a cool t-shirt, such as the one I'm wearing here. This is the Space Sheriff style t-shirt, inspired by the original Metal Heroes, Gavin, Charvan, and Scheider. This one here, they come in lots of colors. This one is what I jokingly call the Gavin Gray color. But you can pick these up along with all kinds of other great shirts for any of the ECS Network shows. You'll see me wearing this one a lot when we get to Space Sheriff Scheider here in the not too distant future. And then please jump over to our Facebook page. We'd appreciate that as well. Give us a like. I try to get conversation starters up there periodically each week. So go over there and socialize and all those things. And of course, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. That helps us a lot too. So folks, until next time when we check out the last part of Dino Charge here on the DenziBlitz, I'm Mike, and we'll see you around.